Hey, welcome to Retired Now What, the podcast that's here to guide you through the exciting journey of retirement. Whether you're asking yourself now what or eager to explore the untapped possibilities in this new chapter, you're in the right place. I'm your host, Michael Kiffmeyer, and together we will discover how to repurpose your knowledge, embrace mastery, and live a purpose driven life. Let's dive in. Well, welcome everyone. This is Michael Kiffmeyer, and this is our podcast series that we hold weekly called You've Retired, Now What? Once you retire, you think a lot about what's next for me. And today I'd like to talk about the Embers of Change and what that means. This is episode number 14 of our podcast series. And we're here today to help you navigate the waters of retirement and what it means. We've talked before, the first 2, 3 years, you probably can just do whatever you want. And then one day, something taps you on the shoulder and says, now what? What do I do now? People need a sense of purpose. They need a sense of purpose from the day they were born until the day that they died. It puts life in us. It gives us a sense of drive and motivation to get up and do something each and every day. Perhaps you've learned lately that a lot of retirees are going back to work. Many need it for the money, but more importantly, many need it for they need something to do. When they work for a company or a corporation, they knew exactly what was expected of them each and every time. But now they've got to figure it out on their own. So, what is it you want to do? What do you think you want to do? And I want to share with you real quickly. It's no one set thing. When we went to school, when we went to college, we were said, "What are you going to be as you grow up?" And many of us just kind of said, "Well, I want to be this, I want to be that," but we really didn't know. We didn't know what we were all about. And I think the value of what we have today is we can decide what it is we want to do. The pandemic and from 2020 to about 2022 to 23, it kind of set everybody back a step. And all kinds of people just wanted to reset what they were doing. And they questioned themselves, what am I here for? What's my purpose? Is this all there is to life? Going to work, 40, 50, 60 hours a week for a paycheck. I had dreams when I was younger, and I'm sure both of you, all of you, had those same dreams. And you probably think, why'd you let them go? Well, it's pretty simple. You let them go because you had responsibilities. You needed a consistent paycheck week to week, month to month, whatever it may be. And so you traded yourself for and your time for a paycheck. It's pretty true. And if you loved your work, kudos to you. Nothing wrong with that. And I'm glad because it kept you engaged. But now that you've retired, you need more. I'm a baby boomer, and I'm going to tell you this. I tried retiring for almost 2 years, and I told myself, this is not cutting it. I need a sense of purpose. I need to find my sense of self and what I was put on this earth for. I'll share with you, if you haven't heard me before, I taught major corporations and their people and their customers and their distributors how to advance their marketing goals and their sales goals through education. If I can empower people with something as simple as an iPhone, a tablet, an Android, and they had that information right in their fingertips, they were off and running. Everybody doesn't need to know everything about uh, everything. They needed just enough information to solve problems. So if you have a client that walked up, say, at a jewelry store, and they wanted to know this, this, and this, if I could empower them with that information, they have it at their fingertips. They don't say, I'll be right back with you. They can close a sale or answer a question right then and there. So there's about 4 different phases of change. And I will share with you, change is one of the hardest things to do in this world. I helped develop one of the first companies to develop interactive learning online, where you took a test and you kind of went from there. There's a major university now called the University of Phoenix, which is the largest university in the world, and everybody learns online. They do it in their time frame, and they've revolutionized education. Well, individuals can do the same thing. They can change as they need to, get information as they need, and perhaps you want to share your knowledge and your expertise with others. Perhaps you just want to use it for a pet project that you have. So there's about 4 different levels of change. And change, I can tell you after teaching online courses, it's tough. It's not so much the teaching as it is the acceptance of doing something a different way. Even though you could tell somebody they want to go back to the way they always done it. And you're telling them something that this will make you more profitable, more efficient, yada, yada, yada. But they're really not interested. They want to go back to the way they know. That's comfortable with them. Change takes about 90 days in whatever you do. It takes that long to develop a habit, refine the habit, put a time frame to conquer that habit, and then finally accept that, you know what, this new way is better than the old way. You can do the same thing with your life, but you have to be consistent. You have to be able to understand it. You have to be able to measure it. You need to be consistent in what you do to achieve your goal. You need to be able to time that goal and put timelines to whatever you're going to achieve. I'll give you an example of that. If you told yourself at the first of this year of 2024 that you're going to lose 50 pounds by August, you have to have a plan on how you're going to do that. It just doesn't happen. I fought weight my whole life, and I can tell you it just doesn't happen. However, if you put a time frame to it, if you put a routine to it, if you put, I'm going to accomplish this, and you journal it on a consistent basis, slowly but surely, that'll turn into a habit, and habits turn into success. Success leaves clues. And I would implore you to look at somebody that you admire, look at somebody that has accomplished certain things that you haven't done yet, and try to emulate them, not copy them, just emulate them and adapt it to your own self. Every one of us have a unique personality. You need to understand your why, your what, and your where. Why am I doing something? Where am I going to do it? And what is it I'm ultimately trying to gain? And once you start to put yourself in that mind frame, you'd be amazed at what you can do. I would suggest you need to overreach. And by overreaching, I mean something like this. You want to lose 50 pounds, but what if you got up to 60 or 70 pounds? If you're, overweight, real severely overweight, and you're obese, what if you want to do more than just be the average person? You want to leave a legacy. What would that legacy look like? Have you understood that? Have you understood how you can do something more than you ever thought you can do? We're living, as I've told you in the past, 25 to 30 years longer than previous generations. And that statistics comes from if you retire at 65. That's a lot of time to just hang out. You need a sense of purpose. You need a reason to pop out of that bed every morning. You need motivation. You need drive. And you need to say, I want to achieve these goals. Here's how I'm going to go about it. And this is what I'm going to do. Now, it doesn't happen all at once. You got to work at it. Okay. It's just like life. Life is not fair, as we all know. And we get hurdles and we get stuff that gets in our way. And you say, dang on it, I was on such a good path. And then all of a sudden you get hit with something and your life gets upset and you're saying, what do I do now? I'll tell you what you do. You keep going. You know, throughout the course of my lifetime, I have pivoted and changed careers 5 to 6 times. I'm a teacher at heart, but I grew that teaching into learning how to teach with computers online, learning how to market what I taught, and learning how to serve others each and every day. Because many folks, they're very smart, but they have a problem with their thinking process. And they put themselves in a box and say, this is about all I can do. I call bull on that. You can do whatever it is you want to do. You need to reach for what that is that you think you might want to do. So when we're looking at change, there's a couple, about 2, maybe 4 different areas I think people can change. Number one, how do we change? Number one, we do what others want us to do. We've perhaps, I know myself, I've done that my whole life. And when I stepped out and on my own in 2017, I said, enough. I can help people learn from what my experiences were moving from career to career and why I did it. I didn't do it because I was a job hopper. I got tired of people telling me what it's all about. And if you go to work for somebody, they're very good at telling you what you're all about. We take all these tests like Myers-Briggs and we kind of plot ourselves out on a schedule. And we say, well, this is what I'm all about. You are all about whatever you are. The second thing we do in a form of change, we do things to just get along. We don't want to disappoint people, so we do what they want us to do, and that's not your life purpose. Your life purpose is a dream bigger than yourself that you want to go for. And I will share with you, though, that vision, those dreams, they're nothing more than an idea unless you put pen to paper with the timeline that you're going to accomplish each and every goal. Otherwise, you're not going to achieve those goals. I've told you before, and I'll tell you again, success leaves clues. Find someone that you admire and model what they have done. Don't steal it, but just model what they've done so you can go to the next level. The other thing that you can do is say, I've had enough. I've had enough that I'm tired of living everybody else's vision for me, the life they say I'm all about, and their dreams. I work for people and I work for companies and I needed their dreams, not mine. What's your dream? What is the dream that you've always had since the time you were a young child and you were told that's not realistic? Who are people to tell you what is and what isn't realistic? You can do whatever you set your mind to, and you don't have to stop. You know, there's several people. One of them is a man by the name of Mr. Chang. They never made their mark until they got later in life. Mr. Chang was 55 years old. He used to work for Texas Instrument. He used to work for General Physics, and he learned all about microchips and computers and everything that was involved with them. By the time he was 55, he was originally from Taiwan. He went back to Taiwan and he started his own microchip company. You know what that microchip company does today? It's the largest microchip company in the world. His number one client is Apple. And you know, the advantage of when you start things over the age of 50 is you have all this experience and all these things that you developed as you were growing and trying to find your way. You can parlay all that knowledge and that intellectual capital into something really great. And I understand uh, very well. Many of you don't want to do that. Maybe you have a hobby you want to do. Many of you have an interest that you say, can I make any money at this and be empowered while I'm doing it? Perhaps. But you need to take time to start examining each and every aspect. You don't have to tell yourself at this stage of your life, well, I got to do this or I got to do that. That's bull. You can do whatever you want. You might pick 3 or 4 things until you finally come up with something. This really excites me. This energizes me. This is where I want to be. So work through these things. I will share with you that I would say you need to take your values and match them to these different areas that you think you might want to think about. Draw a Ben Franklin map, if you will. And a Ben Franklin chart was basically a line down the middle of a yellow piece of paper and pros and cons. You can do that. Why don't you start? Because perhaps you're not motivated. One of the other keys to change is you need to have connections. You need to bounce your ideas off of other folks. You need people that you admire, people that know you and say, listen, here's what I've been thinking of doing, and here's the reasons why. Could you give me your feedback on what you think? You'd be surprised that people that really know you, have known you probably your whole life, and you share with their ideas, they're not going to poo-poo it. They're going to say, you know what, Frank, I've known you your whole life, and here's what I've always seen from you. And what you're trying to pursue right now, I think it's right up your alley. Or they might tell you the other thing. I don't think this is the best path to follow. Do you toss it? No. You've got to re-examine that again. So you got to keep working in an iterative fashion. Little piece here, little piece there. And does this work for me? If not, you toss it and you go on to the next thing. You don't have to keep doing something simply because you say, I got to have something to do. The world will give you an answer, but you got to keep chipping at it. You know, think back when you were in school and you were in college, all the things that you were exposed to that you never knew anything about. I grew up in a small little town outside of Cincinnati, Ohio, and I never knew. One of the first jobs I got while I was in college is I worked for Levi Strauss. And I never knew you can make a living out of selling apparel and fitting people's needs. Had no idea. Well, that career made me spend 14 years in the consumer product industry. And then when I was 38 years old, I came back to Cincinnati from California. I'd been in California for like 10 years. And I had to find a new path because what I did on the West Coast wasn't really working in the Midwest. And guess what? I was a recruiter at one time. He had a gentleman come up to me. He was a vice president of sales of a major computer firm. Have you ever sold computers? I looked at him and I said, you know what? I never touched a computer seriously until I was 37 years old and had to do my resumes. But make a long story short, I learned all the different computers. I sold local area networks and wide area networks. And then my breakthrough was I learned how to manage education to the computer industry and was one of the first to introduce online learning in the United States. I share all that with you, not to be braggadocious, but simply to tell you that you can do anything you want to do. And just whatever thoughts you have where you are right now, that's not your limit. If you want to leave a legacy, start writing down what you think that might look like. If you don't deal with change well, you need to work at it because change can produce stress. Stress can give you health problems in the area of heart problems, respiratory problems, and just your overall health can decline. You need to say, I am more than this, and you need to take care of yourself. You need to take care of your health. You need to, and it's got to be an ongoing thing. It can't just be, well, I did this, this, and this. I was real tickled last week, and I'll share with you. I'm 74 years old, and my blood pressure was 153 over 116. Those are blood pressures of a teenager. But I'll share this with you. I work at it. I don't just take my life for granted. I don't take my body for granted. I got to work on it. And I have had to watch my weight in all candor since I was 6 years old. I just have one of those body styles. You got to work at it or you can get out of control real quick. Same way with your life. You got to work at it. You can't just say, well, I'm here and that's enough and on from there. It all starts with mindset, and you can change your mindset if you have enough drive and inspiration. Decide where you think you want to be, and then kind of go from there. And keep at it until you finally find what works for you. I have a group called Visions and Actions, and it stands for where we turn visions and dreams into a reality. We all had dreams and visions when we were young kids, and then we were talked out of it because it wasn't realistic. And we had to get what? That 9 to 5 job. And we did it. And more than a bunch of us hated it, but it paid the bills, it took care of the household, and that's what we did. Well, now that's all behind us. You have some kind of retirement income right now, be it Social Security, and you might be fortunate to have a pension for your company. But even if you don't, you can stick a stake in the ground and say, how am I going to change this? And if you want help in changing that, reach out to me. I, for 30 years, taught corporations, schools, and universities on change management, online learning, and how to make a difference with your organization through learning. We can do the same for you at this stage of your life. I'm going to hold on April the 18th a free challenge, and that free challenge is going to be called "You've Retired, Now What?" Challenge. And in that challenge, I'm going to share with you tools, processes, and methodologies that I've developed over the years that can help you. If you don't know exactly what you want to do right now, that's okay. Let's work through it. Let's find ways that you can take your values and map them to what you want to do, and we come up with the answer. And that answer might take weeks, it might take days, it might take a few months, but I can guarantee you this, it's not going to take a year or two. We can cut through the chase really quick. Your values are really important. And you've got to say, this is what I believe, this is what I want, and this is what I won't do. And then you got to map it to whatever it is that you're looking at to do right now. And what you're trying to do right now may be a hobby that you would like to see if, is this something I could do part-time or even full-time and make some revenue from it? And even further, that might not be your interest at all. Perhaps you just want to volunteer. You've got skills, you've got knowledge, and you've got a whole lifetime that you've lived that you can share with others. And let me share this with you. What I'm doing right now, the self-education business, is projected to be a $25 billion a day industry by the year 2025. I don't do it because of the income. I do it because I have a overwhelming need to serve others, help others through their thought process. There was a time in my career that I was a recruiter, a headhunter, if you will. And I used to watch individuals come in, especially in the automobile industry, and they were besides themselves. They saw their fathers, their grandfathers, their grandmothers work in the automobile industry, and now many of those jobs were gone. What happened? Well, first and foremost, the automobile industry had to get more cost effective. They moved south in areas like Indiana, Kentucky, Alabama, Texas, when everything was centralized before in Detroit, Michigan. Things change, okay? And people had a hard time with it. And they would come in, they were devastated. And these were not um, stupid people. These were people that just had the rug pulled out from underneath them and they didn't know which way to turn. Well, that kind of led me to the path I'm on right now. I want to help people through their thought process. I want to help them with what I know to get to their next step. So there are ways that you can change. You have to be open to change, and change can make all the difference in the world for you. I thank you for listening today. I would ask you if you have friends, colleagues, even family members are kind of in the same position you are right now. They're retired, but they really just don't know what to do on their next steps. I would implore you to share this podcast with them. And I'd also like to ask you any questions that you have. You can reach me on Facebook, Instagram, or LinkedIn. And I certainly will give you some answers. And if I don't have the answers, members of this group will help share some answers for you as well. We're in a community here to help each other. That is it. And there's no way to be embarrassed. No, you've heard the old saying, no question is a dumb question. And I implore you to be open, share your feelings, and ask any questions you have. I thank you for listening. I'm looking forward to seeing you again next week. And if I can help in any way, please reach out. Thank you. Thanks for tuning in to Retired Now What. I hope today's conversation has given you some valuable insights as you navigate the journey of life after retirement. Always remember, life doesn't stop after retirement. It's an opportunity for a new beginning.